Okay, today we are going to take on course 02, preparing for your professional cloud architect journey, and it takes about 8 hours. It's advanced. This course helps learners create a study plan for the PCA certification exam. Learners explore the breadth and scope of the domains covered in this exam. Learners assess their exam readiness and create their individual study plan. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, we are going to have many different sections. Okay, and the first introduction to PCA certificate, 5 videos, 1 document. Welcome to prepare. Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and start the first module. Welcome to Preparing for a Professional Cloud Architect Journey. In this course, you'll learn more about skills covered on the Professional Cloud Architect Certification exam. Model 1 through 4 each point to one section of the exam guide. Module 5 covers section 5 and 6 of the exam guide. In Module 6, you'll walk through the process of breaking down the case study and create a study plan. However, it's important to clarify that this course by itself will not prepare you to take the certification exam. What? However, it is important to clarify that this course by itself will not prepare you to take the certification exam. This is not a cram section. This exam is purposefully calibrated to test your ability to apply knowledge required of a professional cloud architect, not merely repeated it. Cram sections have minimal impact on your ability to pass the exam. Instead, the goal of this course is to help you better structure your preparation time for the exam. You will learn about the scope of each exam section, assess your content knowledge and skill through diagnostic questions, and reveal where to find additional tools and resources to include in your study plan. Okay. In this introductory module, you'll learn about the role of professional cloud architect, the type of resources available to support your study, and how you use the workbook in this course to create your study plan. Okay. So, what exactly is the role of professional cloud architect? Let's review the job description. A Google Cloud certified professional cloud architect enables organizations to leverage Google Cloud technology. Through an understanding of cloud architecture and Google technology, this individual designs, develops, and manages robust, secure, scalable, high available, and dynamic solutions to drive business objectives. The professional cloud architect should be proficient in all aspects of enterprise cloud strategy, solution design, and architectural best practices. The cloud architect should also be experienced in software development methodologies and approaches, including multi-tier distributed applications that span multi-cloud or hybrid environments. A professional cloud architect should have 3+ years of industry experience, including more than 1 year of using Google Cloud to design and manage solutions. For more information, visit the Professional Cloud Architect certification page on our online documentation. In this course, you examine the role of professional cloud architect from perspective of someone who is working for Symbol Direct, a fictional company. Symbol Direct has been dealing with scaling issues and wants to implement solutions to help dynamically surge delivery during peak period for customers, while also personalization customer service experiences. Symbol Direct also wants to facilitate large-scale business-to-business orders and better predict customer demand and trends. One of Symbol Direct's concerns with B2B partners is ensuring security of partner business plans. Symbol Direct also wants to help partners integrate with APIs to make orders and specify customizations. Symbol Direct is also considering how to integrate social media into its platform. Symbol Direct's marketing department wants to highlight posts on social media platforms that feature its products directly on Symbol Direct's product page. However, marketers are concerned about the possibilities of having inappropriate content accidentally displayed to customers. As you explore the role of professional cloud architecture at Symbol Direct throughout the course, you'll focus on three key initiatives. The Beta Delivery by Drone initiative lets licensed drone pilot deliver shoes and sandals to customers. DBD allows customers to place their order and then receive their shoes quickly. The drones stream real-time video to their pilot as well as their coordinates so the customer can see the location of their deliveries on a map. Symbol Direct's second initiative is release official API for partners. Symbol Direct wants to publish API in a controllable, versionable way with the ability to track, secure, and monetize. Symbol Direct's social integration service highlights impact hashtag with their product, but only after machine learning ensure that images are of its product and do not have any inappropriate content. The social media highlighting service is currently in a proof of concept phase, built by the developer in their own time after hours as an experiment. It garners a lot of excitement and interest, especially from the marketing team. However, during one of the internal demos, inappropriate images were included in the product gallery. As a professional cloud architect at Symbol Direct, your role involves translating the business and technical requirements into a real-world implementation, often based on the existing environment. The architect creates a blueprint and allows an organization to leverage the power of Google Cloud. As you continue through the course, you explore the role of professional cloud architect at Symbol Direct to find a solution architect for its cloud environment. We'll use this scenario to illustrate the type of consideration and tasks that correspond to each section of the exam guide. Symbol Direct's business and technical needs will also provide context for many of the diagnostic questions you will encounter along the way and highlight areas that you should spend more time learning about. Why become Google Cloud Certified Professional Cloud Architect? Certification value has significantly increased. Becoming Google Cloud Certified gives you industry recognition, it validates technical expertise, and can be the starting point to take your career to the next level. You might be curious about what differentiates a professional cloud certification from an associate level. The professional level certification expects the exam taker to know how to evaluate case study and design solution to meet business requirement, in addition to knowing about technical requirement for customer implementation. Okay. As you explore the role of professional cloud architect as Symbol Direct in this course, you'll also explore different sections of the exam guide, which forms the basics of the professional cloud architect certification exam. In this following module, diagnostic questions will help you assess your knowledge of each section of the exam guide. The exam guide for the professional cloud architect certification is divided into 6 sections that contain one or more objectives. We'll focus on where you can find resources at the section objective level. The exam guide is on the certification page of our online documentation. Note that there is a separation between the team that develops the professional cloud architect exam question and the team that develops the courses and exam preparation material. The course developers and instructors do not know what question will be on your professional cloud certification exam, and your exam might be different to everybody else. The goal of this course is to determine what you know and what you don't know, to help you prepare a study plan and be ready for the professional cloud certification exam. Later, when you take the exam, you demonstrate whether you have the skill and knowledge required to earn the professional cloud architecture certification. Throughout the course, you'll be pointed to specific resources and documentation to help you fill the gaps that you identify through the diagnostic questions. Let's go over the type of resources you might want to include in your study plan. Google provides resources to help you develop your skills and experience with Google Cloud Solutions. The learning path of this certification includes in-person or online courses, online practice labs and skill badges, and practice questions. This course is recommended for professional cloud architect certification include Google Cloud Fundamentals, Core Infrastructures, Architecting with Google Compute Engine, Architecting with Google Cloud Design and Process, Getting Started with Google Kubernetes Engines, and Logging, Monitoring, and Observabilities in Google Cloud. You'll learn more about how these courses related to a section of the exam guide as you complete module in this course. You can take these as instruction-led courses or as on-demand courses on Coursera, Pluralsight, or Google Cloud Skill Boost. Keep in mind that Architecting with Compute Engine is available on demand as a 3-course series. You should take all 3 courses: Essential Google Cloud Infrastructure, Foundation, Essential Google Cloud Infrastructure Core Services, and Elastic Google Cloud Infrastructure Scaling and Automation for the equivalent content to a 3-day instruction-led course. Logging, Monitoring, and Observability in Google Cloud is available on demand as a 2-course series. You should take both courses, Logging and Monitoring in Google Cloud and Observability in Google Cloud. Please know that instruction-led course Architecting with Google Cloud Design and Process is available in an on-demand format as Reliable Cloud Infrastructure Design and Process. Skill badges provide hands-on experience working with Google Cloud. Skill badges are learning path consisted of labs that give you hands-on practice with Google Cloud services and solutions. pass the challenge lab at the end of the skill badge, and you receive a shareable credential that recognizes your ability to solve real-world problems with your cloud knowledge. As we review the diagnostic question in this course, you also get recommendation for skill badges to include in your study plan. During certification exams, some questions may refer to a case study that describes the fictitious business and solution concept. These case studies are intended to provide additional context as you answer the question. You can access the official case study from the exam guide. Before you take certification exam, review the case studies that may be used and familiarize yourself with the requirements described in each. You should design the solution for each of them and learn in detail about resources you would use in each of the environment. This will help you answer the portion of the exam that relates directly to those case studies and ensure that you understand the services and options that you may find detailed questions about the rest of the exam. The case studies follow a similar format. Each one includes company overview, a description of the solution concept, information about the existing technical environment, lists that outline business and technical requirements, and an executive statement that highlights priorities and challenges. In Module 6, you'll walk through the process of analyzing case study in details. We'll use Dress for Win, a case study from the previous version of the exam, as an example case study to examine the process. The Dress for Win case study is in your workbook. Before you take the exam, we recommend that you follow the similar process to review each of the official case study. Sample questions are another resource that you use to prepare. The diagnostic questions in this course are designed to help you identify your knowledge gaps. On the certification page, Google provides different sets of example questions that help you familiarize yourself with the format of the exam questions. After you complete the exam question set, you'll receive feedback describing the rationale of the correct answer. These sample questions provide a good opportunity to practice taking the type of scenario-based, application-level questions on the exam. The exam question provides you with the scenario, explain the goal or what you are trying to achieve, and ask you what you would do in that situation. Google also supplies official public documentation for its product and services. The documentation is available at cloud.google.com/docs. In each of the following modules, you'll learn about specific documentation resources to help you study that section and prepare for the exam. One of the primary goals for this course is to help you diverse study strategy that focus on the area that you need to work on. Let's quickly explore how this course is set up. The course and the workbook focus on each section of the exam guide sequentially. To help you craft the study strategy, you take diagnostic questions as part of each module. Many of these questions relate to the simple direct scenario and ask you to apply concepts you need to be familiar with as a professional cloud architect. Remember that these diagnostic questions are meant to help you identify gaps in your knowledge, but they don't represent all possible topics on the exam. Remember that we don't expect you to answer all the questions correctly right now. This is meant to be a course that you take toward the beginning of your professional cloud architect journey, and many of you might not be networking expert yet. After you're After you individually answer the diagnostic question in each module, you'll review the question and the correct answer to identify what you need to study and where you can find more information. As you review the question, there are hints with bolded text about what is important in the questions and how you might evaluate the responses. Remember these tips for multiple choice questions. Read the question stem carefully. Make sure you understand exactly what the question is asking. Try to anticipate the correct answer before looking at the options. You should be able to come up with the correct answer just from reading the question stem. More than one answer might be possible on multiple choice questions. Take question at face value. If certain details are omitted, they are unlikely to contribute to the selection of the best answer. Pay attention to the qualifier, usually, all, never, none, and keyword, the best, the least, except. We will review select questions related to each section objective. As we cover each objective, you'll learn more about where the key concepts appear in Google Cloud documentation, specified courses and modules, and/or specific skill badges. At the end of each section objective, you'll find a list of related resources. Mark or highlight the specific resource you need in your study plan. The final part of the workbook contains a template to help you identify weekly goals and study activities. We'll talk more about putting together weekly goals at the end of the course. Now that you know about overall setup of the course and how to use workbook, let's get started by exploring section 1 of the exam guide. This is the workbook, and we'll download this for, I'm not going to read through how many pages? 86 pages. Oh, this is the workbook. So I'm going to download the workbook. And then we'll move on to the next section. Welcome to Module 1, Designing and Planning a Cloud Solution Architect. In this module, you'll explore the scope of tasks involved in designing and planning Symbol Direct architecture, which correspond to the first section of the Professional Cloud Architecture exam guide. We'll start by discussing Symbol Direct requirement and how you would approach designing a cloud infrastructure. Next, you'll assess your skills in this session through 10 diagnostic questions. Then we'll review these questions. Based on the area that you'll learn more about it, you'll identify resources to include in your study plan. Let's start by exploring a breadth of considerations involved in the design of a cloud architecture and the role of professional cloud architect at Symbol Direct. As a professional cloud architect, your role involves exploring the different aspects of Symbol Direct existing environment and defining the business and technical requirement of its cloud architecture. These requirements determine how you'll design the compute, engine, networking, and storage infrastructure for a solution, how you plan to migrate existing environment to the cloud, and what future improvement you will envision. Assessment is the process of understanding what the current environment looks like and what the requirements are. After you understand the environment and goals, create a plan to get there. Migrating typically means moving from on-premises to the cloud, but it could be moving to Google Cloud from another cloud. It could also be a bit more abstract and mean migrating from the current architecture, whatever that is, to a new one. After your migration, even if you got everything right, you often find areas that you can improve. You might even have changes you plan on doing to improve the environment before you migrate. You often want to reduce the number of variables and initially migrate infrastructure without modification, often referred to as lift and shift approach. After ensuring that things are working correctly, you will advance to optimization. In our scenario, Symbol Direct is having scale issues in the existing environment. They have several projects that are still on premises and want to migrate those to Google Cloud. Let's look at Symbol Direct's environment and requirements. As a professional cloud architect at Symbol Direct, you need to understand what the existing environment looks like. Each element of the existing environment or infrastructure need to be either replicated or replaced with equivalent or better functionality in your cloud solution. Each element of the existing environment or infrastructure need to be either replicated or replaced with equivalent or better functionality in your cloud solution. Your choice will be based on availability of replacement in Google Cloud and the business and technical requirement of a particular migration. Symbol Direct had three major projects: delivered by John, partner and product API, and a social media highlighting service. As part of your assessment, you talk to people who manage the existing environment and learn about it. This is a simplified version. Symbol Direct Delivery by John project has a website front-end, pilot, and truck management system, all of which run on Kubernetes. Positional data for John and trucks is stored in the MongoDB cluster. John are connected to VM through a stateful connection and stream video through real-time management protocol to the pilot, as well as command from the pilot to the John. For the purchase and product API project, the APIs are built into monolithic apps that are not designed for partner integration. The API are running on Ubuntu Linux VMs. The social media highlighting app is currently a proof of concept. The application currently runs on single SUSE Linux VM, uses MySQL and Redis, and is written in Python. Hopefully, something have already attracted your attention. For example, what could you use a potential solution for Redis? You could do a simple lift and shift and run a VM with Redis on it. Or maybe you should consider using Memory Store, which is Google Managed Redis implementation. Business requirements are critical because they can determine whether a solution is susceptible. You should keep business requirements in mind when determining which solutions are appropriate. An organization's business requirements can act as a filter to reduce the number of potential available solutions, helping you to determine which is the correct one for a given scenario. Symbol Direct Management wants to ensure that the company's application can easily scale to handle demand so that Symbol Direct can expand to more test market. Business leaders also want to streamline development for application modernization and new features and products. Ensure that developers spend as much time on core business functionality as possible without having to worry about scalability. Let's partner order direct through an API and get a production version of social media highlighting service functional, while they ensure that no inappropriate content is distributed. Much like business requirement, technical requirement help you understand which potential solution would be appropriate for your cloud architect. You determine that Symbol Direct technical requirements are moved to managed service wherever possible. Ensure the developer can deploy container-based workload to testing and production environment in a highly scalable environment. Standardize on container where possible, but also let existing virtualization infrastructure run without a rewrite, so it can be slow refactor over time. Secure allow partner integration. You often see partners repeat themselves. Business requirements that are very similar to technical requirements or the opposite. You probably notice this similarity in Symbol Direct requirements. Let's explore how you could use this requirement to help informing your decision making. We'll focus on just one aspect of Symbol Direct environment, to deliver by joint business. For this project, you need to propose a Google Cloud solution for the website front-end, pilot, and truck management system, all of which run on Kubernetes. For technical requirement, you have to move to managed services wherever possible. Ensure that developer can deploy container-based workload to testing and production environment in a highly scalable environment, and standardize on container where possible. To check your work, and you can say, does it easily scale to handle additional demand when needed? And does it streamline development? After defining requirements, a critical part of your role as a professional cloud architect at Symbol Direct is to translate those requirements into solution. You need to define the compute, network, and storage resource that will meet your requirements. Let's examine a potential solution. This is not intended to be a complex example, but it includes some of the products and services that could be a part of your proposed solution. To begin, your solution has a global external application load balancer and run on Google Kubernetes engine. In a real example, you would probably have more information about a GKE setup. You use separate project for the website and management components. You could also consider what reference architectures already exist that would support your potential solution. Check your workbook for the complete potential solution table. Symbol Direct needs to evaluate the potential option the organization could use to implement a web front-end that is currently running on their on-premises VM. As a cloud architect, you could use the decision flow diagram to evaluate compute engine, app engine, Cloud Run, and Google Kubernetes engine to see if they meet the business and technical requirement you have identified. Compute engine and add engine fail to meet the container-based requirements, so they are eliminated from consideration. Cloud Run and GKE both meet the requirement of being container-based, streamline development, and scale, but when considering the last requirement of managed services, one choice remains in this example decision tree, Cloud Run. In this example situation, Cloud Run appeared to be the best potential solution, but you still need to check if there are any limiting factors, such as stateful applications, which are not currently supported in Google Run. SimpleDirect has chosen to use GKE initially because it's already run Kubernetes. However, SimpleDirect is evaluating Cloud Runs for future use or for some of the applications that are worth investigating. Often, representing your solution graphically will help you understand in a different way, which is very helpful when you represent or explain your solution to the stakeholder. This diagram is an example of what part of SimpleDirect architecture could look like. The diagram includes separate project for development, testing, staging, and production. Two regions are used in the US to ensure high availability. Folders are used with IAM to simplify access controls. And an external IP with a global load balancer and Cloud Armor are included as well. Remember that this is just an overview of the kind of work you'll do as a professional cloud architect. You might have a separate item for firewall in your existing environment where you describe in detail your firewall rules. Your solution plan will probably have a lot more details about the various resources. This is much of what the other classes are about in your preparation journey. They help you learn the details about your options with Google Cloud and what information you might need to know about particular resource to follow Google recommended practices. Google's Cloud Architecture Center has reference architectures you can use as starting point. These architectures can save time and help you get started with a solution design. After determining the architecture for your solution, you create a migration plan for how SimpleDirect will move its application to Google Cloud. Your role also involves envisioning how SimpleDirect's business might transform in the future and plan how your solution can adapt as business and technical requirements change. For the delivery by Jones service, you anticipate addressing potential future improvement by moving to Cloud Run. It's your turn to assess your experience and skills related to this section with some diagnostic questions. Remember, these questions are intended to help you understand or diagnose which area you'll want to focus on in your study plan, so we don't expect you to know all the answers yet. Please complete the diagnostic questions that are presented next. If your learning platform doesn't support assessment, kindly use a course workbook. The diagnostic questions in this course can be challenging, and some of them have several layers and decisions to make. Let's examine some approaches you can use when analyzing complicated questions through a detailed discussion of this diagnostic question from the first module. Let's start with the question. 3. First, consider the question stem. We can break the stem up into multiple parts. First, The scenario Simple Direct developers have written a new application. Based on initial usage estimate, you decide to run the application on compute engine instance with 15 GB of RAM and 4 CPUs. These instances store persisting data locally. After the application runs for several months, historical data indicate that the application required 30 gigs of RAM. The key points here are the technical details. You initially run the application on compute engine instance with 15 gig of RAM and 4 CPUs, but the application is requiring 30 gig of RAM. Also, you need to have a solution that will allow you to store the persistent data locally. Next, you can identify the goal. Simple Direct Management wants you to make adjustments that will minimize costs. So in order to minimize costs, what should you do? In this question, each of the responses have you take similar steps. You stop the instance, then use a gcloud command to set the initial type, determine whether to set an instance metadata to preemptible, and restart the instance. This requires you to make two choices: what machine type to set and whether to use preemptible machine. Once you make one of those decisions, you are left with two possible choices. In this case, because instances need to store persistent data locally, you can use preemptible machine, which eliminate B and D. Evaluating the two remaining choices, you know that an E2 standard A instance will have appropriate amount of memory. However, this instance type will have more CPU than necessary to incur additional unnecessary cost. That leaves C as the correct answer. Custom instances are a good way to optimize costs because you don't have to pay for resources you don't need. Remember that the standard instance size are based on what makes sense for most general purpose application, but your environment may differ. Next, focus on the question. For this question, STEM tells you that you plan to set up a dedicated interconnect between two of your data centers and want to ensure that your resources are only deployed to the same region where your data centers are located. You need to make sure that you don't have any overlapping IP addresses that could cause conflicts when you set up the interconnect. You want to use RFC 1918 Class B address space. Notice the key criteria: resources deployed to the same region as the data center, no overlapping IP addresses. RFC 1980 Class B address space similar to question 3. Those choices have you complete a series of similar steps. The first difference between the response is whether you want to leave the default network in place or whether you delete the default VPC network and set up a new network that uses either auto mode or custom mode. Continuing to compare the response, notice that you need to decide on the network range to use a create subnet. You can eliminate A because default mode networks create subnets for you automatically in each zone and could allow people to accidentally provision resources in other regions. You can also eliminate B because auto mode network also creates subnets for you automatically in each zone. These leave you the two options for setting up the network in custom mode. You can eliminate D because subnets are regional, not zonal. That leaves C as the correct answer. A custom mode VPC network doesn't automatically create subnet. These type of network provide you with complete control over its subnet and IP address ranges. You decide which subnet to create, in region you choose, and which IP address range you use for subnets, but only if they fall within the RFC 1918 address space. RFC 1980 Class B uses the 172.16.x.x address space. Finally, let's examine question 9. This question stem has clear scenario setup. You are working in a mixed environment of VMs and Kubernetes. Some of your resources are on premises and some are in Google Cloud. Using container as part of the CI/CD pipeline has sped up releases significantly. Next, you have a goal. You want to start migrating some of those VMs to containers so you can get similar benefits. You want to automate the migration process where possible. Let's identify some key information. Some of your resources are on premises, some are in Google Cloud migrating. Some of those VMs are to containers. Automate the migration process. Keep these points in mind as you evaluate the options. You can approach the set of choice in this question in a few ways, but let's first identify the different Google options you could use to automate migration of VM to container. These responses give you 3 options: migrate to container, migrate to Anthos, cloud build, and migrate to compute engine. You can eliminate C because cloud build lets you build Docker compatible container, but you can't use it to automate the importing of VMs. You can also eliminate D because you can't use migrate for compute engine to create container. Now that both your remaining option to use migrate to container, migrate to Anthos. You need to make a choice based on how to use the products. Migrate to containers uses container in GKE to migrate a VM. It doesn't use compute engine instances, so you can eliminate B. These leave you with A as the correct answer. You must initially create a GKE cluster. Then you can use migrate to container to set up the cluster and import the VMs. Migrate to container is very powerful tool that you can use import VM to GKE. It automates the configuration of a GKE cluster and importing of the VMs. Migrating for compute engine is also a useful tool, but instead convert VM to compute engine instances. Use the approach that help you as answer diagnostic question throughout the course. Remember to read the question stem carefully, identify the key points and requirements. Some questions are multiple parts. Consider each of the requirement posed by the question. Find the similarity and differences in the responses and eliminate responses that do not meet the requirements. Okay, diagnostic question. Okay, passing score 80%. Simple Direct developer have written a new application based on initially usage. Oh, I thought we have done this, but okay, we're gonna try anyway. You decide to run the application on compute engine instance with 15 GB of RAM and 4 CPU. These instances store persistent data locally. After the application runs for several months, historical data indicated the application required 30 GB of RAM. Simple data management wants you to make adjustments that will minimize costs. What would you do? they all stop the instances and then use command G call compute instance set machine type VM machine type 2 custom 4 set the instance metadata to preemptible true. Start the instance again, stop the instance, and then use command G call compute instance machine type E2 standard 8. Set the instance metadata preemptible true. Start the instance again. Stop the instance and use the command gcall compute set machine type VM name machine type 2 custom 4. Start the instance again. Stop the instance, then use the command gcall compute set machine type E2 standard 8. So we can eliminate preemptible. This is preemptible true, and that leaves us these two. Standard, okay, we don't need the standard A, we want the custom, so we'll take C. Number 2, you are working in a mixed environment, VM and Kubernetes. Some of your resources are on premises, some are in Google Cloud. Using container as part of your CI/CD pipeline has sped up releases significantly. You want to start migrating some of the VM to container so you can get similar benefit. You want to automate the migration process where possible. What should you do? So we eliminate these two. Then use migrate to set up cluster import, and then I think I'm gonna use the I understand now. 3. Simple Direct has created a proof of concept for social integration service that. Let's try this again. Simple Direct has created proof of concept for social integration service that highlight images of products from social media. The proof of concept is monolithic application running on a single SUSE Linux virtual machine. The current version requires increasing the VM, CPU, and RAM in order to scale. You would like to refactor the VM so that you can scale out instead of scaling up. What should you do? Move the existing codebase and VM provisioning script to Git and attach external persisting volume to the VMs. Make sure that application declares any dependent requirements in the requirements.txt or equivalent statement so that they can be referenced in the startup script, and attach external persistent volume to the VMs. Use containers instead of VMs and use the GKE autoscaling deployment. Make sure that the application declares any dependent requirements in a requirement.text or equivalent statement so that they can be referenced in a startup script. Specify the startup script in the managed instance group template and use an autoscaling policy. This one I think is the best answer. Number 4, SimpleDirect employees will use Google Workspace. Your current on-premises network cannot meet the requirements to connect to Google's public infrastructure. What should you do? I think the keyword would be on-premises network cannot meet the requirement to connect to Google's public infrastructure. Public's keyword. Okay. Order a dedicated interconnect from Google Cloud Partner and ensure the proper routes are configured. Dedicated interconnect. This looks correct. Order a partner interconnect from, because dedicated interconnect is to create a private connection. Or second one, order a partner interconnect from Google Cloud Partner and ensure the proper routes are configured. I think partner interconnect is using the public network. Connect network to Google point of presence and enable direct peering. This is public configuration. Connect to on-premises network, Google public infrastructure. So again, this is public, this is public, this is public, and dedicated interconnect is the best answer because of the dedicated interconnect is to connect with the private network. I'll move on to number 5. SimpleDirect is working with Simple Retail, a separate autonomous division of Simple with different staff, networking team, and data center. SimpleDirect and Simple Retails are not in the same Google Cloud organization. Simple Retail needs to access the SimpleDirect web application for making bulk orders, but the application will not be available on the public internet. You want to ensure that Simple Retail have access to your application with low latency. You also want to avoid egress network charges if possible. What should you do? Verify that the subnet range Simple Retail is using doesn't overlap with SimpleDirect's subnet range, and then enable VPC network peering for the project. Specify SimpleDirect project as the shared VPC host project, and then configure Simple Retail's project as service project. If Simple Retail doesn't have access to Google Cloud Data Center, use carrier peering to connect to two networks. Verify the subnet Simple Retail is using at the same IP address range with SimpleDirect's subnet range, and then enable VPC network peering for the project. Low latency would be this one would be the best suited answer. Number 6, you are working with a client who is using Google Kubernetes Engine to migrate application from a virtual machine-based environment to a microservices-based architecture. Your client has a complex legacy application that stores a significant amount of data on the file system of its VM. You do not want to rewrite the application to use an external service to store the file system data. What should you do? In Cloud Shell, create a YAML file defining your pod called pod.yaml. Create a pod in GKE by running its command kubectl control apply -f pod.yaml. In Google Shell, create a YAML file defining your container called build.yaml file. Create a container in GKE by running the command gcloud build submit -config build.yaml. In Google Shell, create a YAML file defining your stateful set called statefulset.yaml. Create a stateful set in GKE by running the command kubectl control apply -f statefulset.yaml. In Google Cloud, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know this. Create a YAML file defining your deployment called deployment.yaml. Create a deployment in GKE by running the command kubectl control apply -f deployment.yaml file. I think it's this one. Okay, next. SimpleDirect is evaluating database options to store the analytic data from its experimental drone deliveries. You're currently using a small cluster of MongoDB NoSQL database servers. You want to move to a managed NoSQL database service with consistent low latency that can scale throughput seamlessly and can handle the petabyte of data you expect. After expanding to additional market, what should you do? Extract the data from MongoDB and insert the data into BigQuery. Create a Bigtable instance. Extract the data from MongoDB and insert the data into Bigtable. Extract the data from MongoDB. Insert the data into FileStore using native mode. Extract the data from MongoDB. Insert the data with FileStore using data store mode. This one is they all extract the data from MongoDB, and the difference is question is BigQuery versus Bigtable versus FileStore native mode and FileStore data store mode. So I have to study this one, but my guess is Bigtable. Number 8, SimpleDirect drone continuously send data during deliveries. You need to process and analyze the incoming telemetric data. After processing, the data should be retained, but it will only be accessed once every month or two. Your CIO has issued a directive to incorporate managed services wherever possible. You want a cost-effective solution to process the incoming stream of data. What should you do? Ingest data with ClearBlade IoT Core and then publish to PubSub using BigQuery to process data and store in standard cloud storage bucket. Next, ingest data with ClearBlade IoT Core and then publish to PubSub. Use Dataflow to process the data and store it in nearline cloud storage bucket. Next, ingest data with ClearBlade IoT Core and then store it in BigQuery. Next, ingest data with ClearBlade IoT Core. Process it with data prep and store it in the CodeLine cloud storage bucket. CodeLine, not standard. Nearline, CodeLine, Customers need to have a good experience when accessing your web application so they will continue to use your service. You want to define key performance indicator to establish a service level objective. Which KPI could you use? 85% of requests are successful. 85% of requests succeed when aggregated over 1 minute. Low latency for larger than 85% of requests when aggregated over 1 minute. 85% of customers are satisfied users. I need to study this more. Let me see. Last question. You are creating a new project. You plan to set up the dedicated interconnect between two of your data centers in the near future and want to ensure that your resources are only deployed to the same region where your data center are located. You need to make sure that you don't have any overlapping IP addresses that could cause conflicts when you set up the interconnect. You want to use RFC 1980 Class B address space. What should you do? Create a new project, leave the default network in place, and then use the default 10.x.x network range to create subnets in your desired region. Next, create a new project, delete the default VPC network, set up a custom mode VPC network and use IP addresses in the 172.16.x.x address range to create subnet in your desired region. Create a new project, delete the default VPC network, set up an auto mode VPC network, and then use the default 10.x.x.x network range to create subnet in your desired region. Next, create a new project, delete the default VPC network, set up a network in custom mode, and then use IP address of 172.168.x.x address range to create subnet in your desired zone. Use VPC network peering to connect the zone in the same region to create a subnet. Okay. And let's submit. I score only 50%. 3. Yeah, these 3 I study significantly. I have knowledge, and then I thought this would be partner interconnect. A partner interconnect allows access VPC while partner. This would allow access between on-premises and your internal IP addresses, which greatly exceeds the scope and do not follow the principle of least privilege. But I think partner interconnect meet the private infrastructure. Alright, I have to study this more. So it seems like different kind of interconnect. I have to study more of the interconnect options. So, big table is correct. It's not colon. Okay. Okay. Oh, you now review the diagnostic questions and your answer to help you identify what to include in your study plan. The diagnostic questions align with those objectives of the exam section. Use the PDF resource that follows to review the questions and how you answer them. Pay specific attention to the rationale for both the correct and incorrect answer. Use the resource detailed under what to look, where to look, and content mapping to build a study plan that meets your learning needs. Okay, so this is the PDF. Oh, I see. This is module 1. So it basically, this PDF basically tells you on all those diagnostic questions one by one and tell you which option is correct, which option is incorrect, and where to look. And content mapping. Okay, that's pretty useful. Okay. Now let me download this. Knowledge check. What could Simple Direct use to estimate costs for their Google Cloud environment? If you have a business requirement to minimize costs, what are 2 things you could do? Do not run instances when they are not being used. Follow Google's right-sizing recommendation. Migrate to Kubernetes from VM. That's not necessarily true. Cap costs by creating a budget in Google Cloud. Use managed services. That's not necessarily true. Okay. Okay. Understood. Okay. And that should be the end of module 1. And we'll leave the module 2 for the next video.